want to take back your life, watch this. You got to picture the possible. Tell your neighbor, picture the possible. Tell your neighbor on the other side, you're going to take back your life. You have to picture the possible. You may be seated in the presence of the Lord. Picture the possible. You have to do what? You have to picture the possible. You have to picture the possible. Nehemiah chapter 2, verses 11 and 20. Picture the possible. I researched this text and found that through it, God's servant Nehemiah shows us how to be God's builders. Let me say that again. I researched this passage, this pericope, and found that through it, God's servant Nehemiah shows us how to be God's builders. He shows us how to bring about restoration in our lives, our homes, our church, our community, and the global village. At the time we are introduced to Nehemiah, he is serving as a cupbearer. He's serving as a what? As a cupbearer in Susa, the principal palace and winter residence of the king. As a cupbearer, Nehemiah is in a unique position. Back in the days of the distant past, cupbearers were important. Cupbearers were trusted servants of kings, not just as close advisors, but also because their responsibilities included, watch this, it included preventing the king from being poisoned, whether accidentally or as part of an assassination. Nehemiah was a cupbearer. Tell your neighbor, Nehemiah was a cupbearer. He was a cupbearer. He was a cupbearer. In our text, Nehemiah shows us how to picture the possible before we began building. Lord, help me to say that with clarity. Nehemiah, in our text, Nehemiah shows us how to picture the possible before we began building. Now, the text begins with Nehemiah's words, and his words were, I went to Jerusalem. Somebody shouted, I went to Jerusalem. Is that a shout? Somebody shouted, I went to Jerusalem. I went to Jerusalem, and Nehemiah says it a matter of factly, as if he simply hopped in a car and driven up the street, when in truth, watch this, he had traveled across 1,500 miles of Syrian desert. He had traveled through hostile lands in response to the call of God. Now, the point is this. Here's the point, and don't miss it. Whether we are building character, or whether we're building a family, whether we're building a church, or whether we are building a changed society, watch this, few things of lasting value are accomplished without our willingness to make a long, difficult journey. Lord, I wish I was in the Lord's house on a Sunday morning. Listen, whether we are building character, building a family, building a church, changing a society, few things of lasting value are accomplished without our willingness to make a long, difficult journey. You see, even the atheist Friedrich Nietzsche understood this truth when he says, and I'm quoting, Nietzsche says, the essential thing in heaven and earth is that there should be a longer obedience in the same direction. Listen to what he says, thereby results and has always resulted in something which makes life worth living. Sometimes, in other words, watch this, sometimes we wander off the path. I didn't get any help. Listen. Sometimes we wander off the path. Sometimes we wander, W-A-N-D-E-R, off the path. And sometimes we, W-O-N-D-E-R, we wonder if we can keep on keeping on. Have you been there? Not enough of you. Have you been where you wondered, you pondered, you thought about it? I don't know if I can keep on keeping on because so much is going on in my life. Do I have any help in here? I don't know if I can keep on keeping on. And sometimes we wonder if we can keep on keeping on. I received the calls well into the night from members of the community, and they're saying, Doc, how are we going to go forward? How are we going to move forward? And sometimes we contemplate, we wonder if we can keep on keeping on in the midst of whatever difficulties that we are confronted by, whatever challenges are in front of us. Sometimes we wonder, I wonder if I have strength enough to take another step. I wonder if I have the patience to hold on just a little while longer. And sometimes, dear hearts, we may even lose sight of God who has called and is leading us. But the Bible makes it clear that the power to bless and to build is given to those who go the distance. Oh my God, I just said something. The power to bless and to build is given to those who go the distance. And the question this morning, the sobering interrogative this morning that is placed before you is, are you willing to go the distance? Are you willing to hold on to God's unchanging hands? Are you willing to trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not to your own understanding? Are you willing to keep your focus on Christ, who is the author and finisher of our faith? Are you willing to go the distance? Ask your neighbor, can you go the distance? In generic terms, I want you to think about what is required to enter in a meaningful relationship, a relationship that might last over the long term. I want you to contemplate, I want you to ponder, I want you to think, I want you to meditate on what is required to enter into a meaningful relationship, a relationship that might last over the long term. You see, you have to spend time together. I thought I had more help than that. Listen, you have to spend time together. If you're going to have a meaningful relationship, you're going to have to spend what? Time together. You're going to have to spend time together. And then not only that, you have to communicate. You have to do what? You have to share your feelings and experiences, and you have to, in order to, if you have to communicate in order to share intimately. You see, in other words, there's time and then there's what? Talk. Hello, somebody. You're going to have to learn to communicate. If you're going to have a lasting, meaningful relationship of intimacy, then you're going to have to spend time. And you're going to have to invest your time, and you're going to have to communicate. You're going to have to share your feelings and experiences. You're going to have to talk. And then you have to commit to one another so that you can trust one another when times are difficult. I just said something. You're going to have to what? Commit to one another. Amen and hallelujah. So that you can trust one another when times are difficult. I didn't say if times become difficult. Do I have any help in here? Because the testimony of Scripture is that man born of a woman is of a few days. I wish I was in Bible territory. And those days are filled with trouble. So if you're going to be in a relationship, a meaningful relationship, a fulfilling relationship with anybody, you're going to have to make the kind of commitment that's necessary so that you can trust them when difficult times come. Because that's when things start to unravel. When the enemy comes in, that's when things start to unravel. When the money gets low, I wish I was in church. That's when things start to unravel. When there's disagreement in the house. Hello, somebody. When everybody's not walking in lockstep, that's when things begin to unravel. You see, God has committed to journey alongside us, and that's shouting good news. Not enough of you. Let me say that again. You kind of nodded on me. God has committed to journey alongside us and support us through the roughest of times. But here's the question. Have we committed to following God even when it leads us into difficult paths? Are you listening to me? Nehemiah took a long, arduous journey. And have we committed to following God even when it leads us into difficult paths? If you have not before, I encourage you to imagine your life as a Christian in terms of discipleship. In other words, it's not about learning the rules of Christian behavior, but it's about entering into a relationship. Tell somebody, listen up. Listen, real meaningful faith doesn't happen overnight. Oh, bless his name. Real meaningful faith doesn't happen overnight. It grows over time. That's why we used to sing one of my favorite songs, Mike, and that song is Every Day with Jesus. It's sweeter than the day before. Every day with Jesus, I love him more and more. Jesus saves and Jesus keeps, and he's the one that I adore. Listen, our sovereign Lord doesn't need any more groupies. I thought I was in church. Our sovereign Lord, I'm talking to somebody here. Our sovereign Lord doesn't need any more groupies. God doesn't need any more spectators eager for excitement, but only in it for the 10-second sprint. What the Lord is looking for are people who are willing to enter into a real relationship with God and engagement in the breadth, depth, and duration of God's love for the world every day. In other words, from now on. God is looking for folk who will stay with God from now on. Not just when the sun is shining. Hello, somebody. Not just when they're signing the president and Congress, when they pass some bill that might allow us at least to eat crumbs from the table. No, that's not what I'm talking about. Listen, Christ doesn't need a larger crowd ready to cheer and applaud louder and longer. What Jesus needs is a church. What Jesus needs is a community committed to serving God and one another, a model of loving, caring, committed relationship for all the world to see. The Lord is looking for a church. A church that's concerned for the last, the least, the left out, and the lost. The Lord is looking for a church that's concerned about feeding the hungry, clothing the naked, visiting those in the hospitals, speaking truth to power. The Lord is looking for a church. The Apostle Paul puts it this way. He says, forgetting what lies behind and straining forward toward what lies ahead, he says, I press on. So tell your neighbor, I press on. In spite of all of the negatives, I press on. In spite of all of the trouble, I press on. In spite of all of the naysayers, I press on. In spite of all of the negaholics, I press on toward the goal for the prize of the heavenly calling of God in Christ Jesus. I like what Nehemiah said, Gloria. He says, I went to Jerusalem. That's what he says. I went to Jerusalem. I went to Jerusalem. And I have a question for you this morning. How far are you willing to go for the Lord? Oh my God, not enough of you. Listen, how far are you willing to go for justice? Not enough of you. Let me ask that again. How far are you willing to go for justice? Can I tell the truth up in here? These are difficult days. And I know I'm talking to somebody here. When we solve one problem, another comes along. When we sit down to catch our breath from one struggle, a new one challenges us. When we put out one fire, a new one starts. Nehemiah was a member of a people who were denigrated and dismissed like African Americans are today. Rutgers University School of Criminal Justice study concluded, watch this, that in the U.S., African Americans, who are 2.5 times more likely to be killed by police than white people. I'm reading a study. A Rutgers University School of Criminal Justice study concluded that in the U.S., African Americans are 2.5 times more likely to be killed by police than white people. I'm still quoting. For black women, the rate is 1.4 times more likely. End of quote. These are troubling times. God give me power. These are troubling times. We thought that things were going to get better. We thought that each generation was seeing progress, but instead we see an evil world and a racist culture much more sinister than the evil world of yesterday. Hello, somebody. We're concerned. We're concerned, as we ought to be. Touch your neighbor, tell your neighbor, wake up. Listen, wake up and smell the coffee because it's brewing. You need to wake up. Listen, they just got through singing, wake up everybody. No more sleeping in bed. Listen, it's time to wake up. So then the question comes, and it's been, my phone has been ringing, blowing up off the hook, blowing up all night and all this morning. And the question is, what do we do? What must we do? How do we cope? Well, notice what Nehemiah did in verse 12. Verse 12 of Nehemiah chapter 2, it says, I set out during the night with a few men. I had not told anyone what my God had put in my heart for me to do in Jerusalem. Hello, somebody. You see, Nehemiah didn't begin his initiative under a spotlight, but in the dark of night. He didn't start by rallying mass involvement. He carefully selected a few people in whom to develop a vision. Listen, don't you know, how many of you know everybody can't handle your dream? Not enough of you. Not enough of you. Everybody cannot handle God's vision for your life. Yes, everybody. If you don't believe it, ask Joseph. Everybody can't handle your dream. You remember Joseph and his brothers? His brothers couldn't handle his dream. Everybody can't handle the vision that God has given you. Listen, Nehemiah, he selected a few people. He said, I set out during the night with a few men. With a few people, because everybody can't handle everything. I thought I was in church. He said, I had not told anyone what my God had put in my heart to do for Jerusalem. He didn't inaugurate his campaign by laying out his entire plan. Instead, he sent his colleagues into the broken down city and trusted that God would stir their hearts to action. What are you saying? Let me break this down like a fraction. Sometimes when we look at things in a state of disrepair, it's almost impossible to stay positive. Unless, somebody shouted unless we remember that God is in the picture. Not enough of you. Unless we remember that God is in the picture. Not too long ago, we had a Unity in the Community Coalition meeting here out in the Brown Narthex, and we had a politician, a state representative, and by the time that state representative, Sister Swift, got through telling us all that was going on, and got through telling us about the doors that had been closed, that basically we can't go to the Attorney General. I think you know that. Basically, we can't go to Austin to the governor. We cannot go like we used to back in the day to go to the FBI. We cannot go to those who might be concerned about the plight of the underserved and the disinherited. We can't go, but listen, and sometimes when we look at things like this in a state of despair, it's almost impossible to stay positive. Watch this, and this is your shout out. Unless we remember that God is in the picture. Unless we envision what is possible through God's gracious power and love. Don't you know that God is able? Not enough of you. I thought I had more help than that. Is there anybody in here who knows that God is able? Yes, God is able. We are counting on everybody. We are discouraged because we have no help in the state house. We are unsettled because we have no help among the representatives and those who are in Congress. We have no help in the Senate. We have no help here in Fort Worth and downtown at City Hall. We have no help. But you know what? You can lift up your heads, O ye gates, and hello somebody, because we know that our God, that I thought I had more help than this. Our God is able. When our ancestors didn't have anybody else, when they didn't have anything else, when they didn't have anybody who was concerned about them, you know what? They got up out of their apathy and out of their complacency, and they said, you know what? God has given me what I need in order to make a difference. So guess what? Fannie Lou Hamer, what you gonna do? I'm gonna fight. What are you going to do? Sojourner Truth, I'm going to fight. What are you going to do? Ida B. Wells, I'm going to fight. What are you going to do? Frederick Douglass, what are you going to do? W.E.B. Du Bois, what are you going to do? Denmark Beecher, I'm going to fight. I'm going to keep on putting one foot in front of the other, and I'm going to keep on trusting God. Is there anybody here in this house who determined, you know what? I don't care who's at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. I know that God still sits on the circle of the earth, and I know that God makes a difference. In his groundbreaking book, Experiencing God, Henry Blackaby says that the chief problem confronting humanity today is not a lack of resources, but the lack of a God-sized vision. I wish I was in church. He says that what's going the chief problem confronting humanity today is not a lack of resources, but the lack of a God-sized vision. And I believe this is true. The writer of the Proverbs says, where there is no vision, the people end up in a mess. You heard it says, where there's no vision, the people perish. But when God's vision is seen and spoken of, when people are willing to step out in faith and move toward God's vision, then anything is possible. I'm convinced, dear hearts, that our families, workplaces, social circles, and churches need all of us to be visionary leaders. Look at somebody, give them a high five, tell them I'm a visionary leader. Listen, and it won't be enough to just speak of your vision. We must live it after the example of Jesus Christ, who cast a vision, not merely in words, but with his whole life. As Nehemiah toured, watch this, yonder he goes, as he toured the ravaged city of Jerusalem, he saw nothing but hopeless destruction. As he toured the ravaged city of Jerusalem, he saw nothing but burned out buildings and gates. He saw the streets piled with rubbish heaps. He saw people picking through the garbage in order to find something to eat. Their health and their hopes were haggard with relentless poverty. And Nehemiah addressed those discouraged, apathetic people, not with the word of judgment, for they had been trying to rebuild for 3 years, but he addressed them with the word of hope. You know what Nehemiah did? He helped them picture the possibilities. My God, he helped them picture the possibilities, and he offered an opportunity for them to do something about their circumstances. I'm done. He offered them an opportunity. Did you hear that? For them to do something about their circumstances. You know what he said to them? Come, let us rebuild the wall. He didn't say, I'm going to do it. He says, come, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, and we will no longer be in disgrace. My God. He said, let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem, and we will no longer be in disgrace. Then he adds this caveat. I also told them about the gracious hand of my God upon me. Dear hearts, Nehemiah reminds us that no matter how bad things look, builders never stop picturing what is possible when God shows up. I love you. I thank God for you. I need to close right there. When Nehemiah reminds us that no matter how bad somebody needs, this is a rhema word for somebody. This is a rhema word for somebody. No matter how bad things look, builders never stop picturing what is possible when God shows up. Don't you know the Bible says that God is able to accomplish abundantly far more than all we can ask or imagine? Do I have any Bible readers? Listen, say that with me. God is able. God is able to accomplish abundantly far more than all we can ask for or imagine. God is able this morning. God is able to rehabilitate your life. I wish somebody believed that. God is able to restore your relationships. God is able to revitalize this congregation. God is able to renew the face of the earth. God is able to accomplish abundantly far more than we can ask for or even imagine. And I know there ought to be somebody this morning who knows that God is able. Do I have a witness here? There ought to be somebody here this morning who knows that the Lord is able. Somebody who's found out that God is able. That there's somebody who discovered that when you got to the end of your rope, you discovered that the Lord, that God is able. Do I have a witness in this house? Where are all the folk who discovered that God, that He's able? You remember when things weren't going right. You remember when you were about to give up. But God, did He come through? Did He come through? Sing